Hey friends, today we're starting a new series doing book reviews, and today we are talking about Tactics by Greg Koukl. Let's jump in. Now, Tactics is actually one of my favorite books. I have the 10th anniversary edition because, yeah, that's out, so definitely if you're about to buy the book, get the new one. It's got more stuff in there. But this book is actually going to be walking through how to have good conversations with skeptics, atheists, really anyone who has a different view other than your own. And that's great because in our culture, in our society, we see so many people just shouting back and forth, but really not having a conversation. This book is going to help you have a conversation with people who maybe even are passionately against your Christian views. So that's why it's such a great book. Greg wrote this book, it's called Tactics, to teach you tools to have those good conversations, to ask those questions, to really have positive engagements where when you meet someone who has a different view other than your own, you can truly have a good and enjoyable, life-giving conversation with them rather than just a heated argument going back and forth. He's going to teach you how to do that. So you might hear the name Tactics, you'd be like, ooh, I don't want to manipulate people. That's not what it is at all. It's just tools to use to have these good conversations, to ask people what they actually mean by their statements, and really to get into the meat of what we believe and why we believe it. Now, basically, in this book, Greg wants to walk you through these tools so that you can be smart, nice, and tactical. Smart, nice, and tactical. To know what you're talking about, to be able to talk about it tactically, or articulately, and to be nice while you do it, right? You don't want to be a jerk while you're talking about this stuff. And that really gets to what he calls the ambassador model. He wants us to be Christian ambassadors. Greg's ambassador model is this: knowledge, wisdom, character. That's what he's going to walk you through in the book. He's going to give you some knowledge that you can use to have these conversations. Wisdom, to be able to engage these conversations and navigate these opinions and thoughts and how to get to the base of them. And ultimately, character. It comes down to character in these situations. You need to have good character. You need to actually care about the person you're talking to. So that's Tactics, guys. That's how to have good conversations. Now, how am I going to rate this? I'm going to rate it on two things: the readability and the usability. Now, the readability, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. It's 269 pages, which sounds like a lot, but that's 19 chapters in this book. So each chapter has an average of about 10 to 15 pages, which for me is perfect. I mean, it's big text, short chapters. That's just much more appealing to me. I'd much rather sit down and read several short chapters than just sit down and work through a grudgingly long chapter. So really easy to read. And what's beautiful about this book is you really don't need a background in apologetics to benefit off of this. It's not going to be super in-depth. In fact, it's one of the most enjoyable books that I've read so far. The way Greg teaches you these tools is he walks you through his experiences, stories that he has of lessons he's learned, how he's learned them, and how these tools actually look like in action. So it's really enjoyable. It's basically him just walking through lots of different snippets of his life, how he's learned these tools and how they've actually played out once he's learned them. So really enjoyable read. Anybody can understand it. It's written in simple language, and it's very applicable. So 5 out of 5 on readability. Now, leading into that is usability. I also give it a 5 out of 5 on usability, and I don't say that lightly. It's very usable. Like I said, it's very understandable, but it's also very applicable. Quite possibly the most applicable book I've ever read. He's going to be teaching you so many tactics. Tactics such as Columbo, Steamroller, Taking the Roof Off, Sticks and Stones, What a Friend We Have in Jesus, and so many more. These are just going to help you to ask good questions, be able to navigate conversations with people that use lots of slogans. This is going to help you with people that maybe aren't being very respectful. Tactics to help bring it back to a respectful conversation, and so much more. So very applicable to help you have these conversations. So definitely a 5 out of 5 on how applicable it is. Very usable. So we said it's very readable and very usable. Great book. And ultimately, that's the goal Greg has with this book. He wants to see more Christians out there actually having these conversations. So many times we expect $1 million apologist to be the one out there having these conversations and sharing the gospel, when in reality, we want to see $1 million $1 apologists. People out there just having these conversations, asking these questions, and it really is as simple as that, as Greg will teach us in this book. It's just asking good questions and being willing to have those conversations. You really don't need much knowledge on apologetics to be able to have these good conversations. You just need to be able to ask good questions and truly get into the meat of what people believe and why they believe it. His goal ultimately in this book isn't to teach you how to share the gospel, but really just to get people to the point where they see their views don't work and that there's something more, that it'll get them thinking. He uses the analogy of putting a rock in someone's shoe, right? Whenever you're walking around, you got a rock in your shoe, it keeps bugging you, right? It keeps bugging you until eventually you'll have to stop and take that rock out. Well, same with these people. He wants to ask good questions, have these good conversations that will become a rock in these people's shoes. Something that sticks with them, that bugs them. They have to think about. And eventually they'll have to do something with, realizing, so my views, these slogans I've been holding to, really don't mean much and really don't work. So where do I go from here? It's all about getting people to that point, and that doesn't happen in one conversation. The reality is, you can just have one interaction with them and have an impact on them that'll go on even after you've interacted with them. And that's the beautiful thing about this book. It's having those conversations with these people, planting those seeds that God can use to get them a little closer to the cross, and where He can bring more people in their life in the future that'll get them even closer. It's what it looks like to be a laborer in God's field. We just get to do a part. Jesus said that different people plant seeds, different people water them, and still others harvest them. We just get to plant seeds all around. We should be intentional about planting seeds in people's lives, even if we know we're never going to see them again. And this book is going to teach us how to do just that. One of the final quotes in his book that I really love, that really paints his vision of what he wants in this book and how easy it really gets, is show the world that Christianity is worth thinking about. With God's help, go and give them heaven. That's exactly what Greg is going to help you do through the book Tactics. He's going to help you ask good questions, be able to navigate these conversations with people that hold us slogans, maybe that aren't great at holding respectful conversation. He's going to teach you how to reel it back and truly have an enjoyable and life-giving conversation with all these people, planting those rocks in their shoes, something to think about, and ultimately for the primary goal of God's work of saving souls. That's all you need to do. You need to ask good questions, and Greg is going to teach you how to do just that. So, with God's help, and with your faithfulness, using these tools, go and give them heaven by asking these questions that'll keep them thinking. So guys, that's Tactics. 5 out of 5 on readability and 5 out of 5 on usability. Definitely recommend it. Pick it up. Pretty cheap. One of my favorite books by far. If you're having these conversations, asking these good questions, and you see that you want to get to the gospel, then check out this video right here so that you can see how to guide a conversation towards a spiritual conversation, how you can get to the gospel in conversation. And if you want to see how to share the gospel, you want tools to share the gospel, then check out this playlist right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.